He is the one-man band and DJ hybrid for the Atlanta Hawks. We welcome Sir Foster onto Hoopsology.
How y'all doing?
Doing really well. Been looking forward to this interview. We've had DJ Shauna from the Milwaukee Bucks on our show. Our podcast covers every aspect of basketball, not just kind of like the clickbait headlines that you see. That's basketball culture overall, everything about the experience. So we traditionally like to ask our guests either their favorite basketball memory or their first basketball memory. Any way you want to take it, just go ahead.
Ooh, favorite basketball memory. I've been watching basketball since I was 8, 7 with my dad as a kid. I don't know. As a fan, I probably have two. Michael Jordan hitting that shot against the Utah Jazz in the finals.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That Saturday night game, and I think it was 2016, where Steph Curry was playing against the Thunder, and he hit a 75-foot three-pointer at the buzzer to beat the Thunder, and that had never been done before. This is the year they went 73-9. He hit that shot, and it was like the double bang from Mike Breen. That is one of my favorite memories as a fan. Kobe's 60-point final game is one of my favorite memories as a fan. As an in-person organist, as a person who's working for the team, I would say one of my favorite memories is our first playoff game. I want to say we were playing the Knicks, and it was the season. It was one of those. It was the season after the pandemic, so we had socially distanced crowds. And then for the playoffs, they said we can have a real crowd. So it was the first real crowd in 2 years. And the energy in that building was insane. I've never played at a game like that. The whole playoff. And we ended up going to the Eastern Conference Finals that year. So the whole playoffs was like that. So I guess those are my three memories.
So you brought it up. What was that experience like? This Matt and I relaunching this podcast started during the pandemic and talking to journalists and even other DJs around the league. They said this having fans back, that was a momentous occasion. So can you take us back during that game in particular when all those fans were back?
Yeah, I've never seen that much. I mean, so let's back up. Atlanta during the playoffs, we always have extremely energetic crowds. We always have extremely loud crowds. We always have extremely fantastic playoff atmospheres. And even with comparing all our playoff atmospheres, there's never been a crowd like that. The first game back, people haven't been to a Hawks game for real in 2 years. People are sick of the pandemic. There's so many things going on in that year, combined with the fact that the Hawks were actually good and we had a chance to win, and we were playing the Knicks. The Knicks fan base travels. There's Knicks fans in every state. They travel. They will come to your arena. If you are not careful, they will take over your arena. And they couldn't do that. They could not do it that series because Atlanta came out in full force and we were not going to let it happen. And it was from the opening tip to the end of the game. It was every game. It was every series. Nobody's fans were coming in that arena and being louder than us. We were crazy. I've never been a part of anything with that much energy.
I want to kind of ask about your process during a game. I mean, do you kind of have, sort of like a set list, like a musician in a concert getting ready for that type of experience? I'm sure you make adjustments as the game is going, but what is kind of your preparation like for each game?
So, I'm always listening to new music and trying to figure out what songs I would want to add to my playlist, to my library. Just as a DJ, period. And really just as a music fan.
Sure.
What's hot right now? What's hot right now? What are people listening to? What I notice people are really like. I notice people's reactions. Okay, they like that. And what do I just personally like? And you just kind of balance all three of those. And then I kind of pick which songs I would like to play. Eventually I want to add this, and this to my set list. So, I might start working on those songs or practicing. But when I get to the game, I really kind of let the game dictate what I play. So I might have learned 3 new songs today and not play any of them because this game doesn't feel like that. So when I get to the game, I kind of listen to what our other DJs are playing. We have 2 other DJs. So we always have 3 DJs working. So DJ Sheikah, DJ Mohawk, and me. And so, when I get there, one of them will be playing, warm up, and one of them will play when doors opens. And then, we both, 2 of us will do the game itself. I kind of listen to what they're doing. I kind of watch fan reaction to kind of, there's always a storyline for each game or whatever. And then I have personal goals for that day. Like I want, from a playing standpoint, I want to accomplish this, or I want to make sure I do this. And so like during my sound check and my warm up, I kind of like work on my personal goals, and I combine all of that with like, how does this game feel? What's happening? And then once the game starts, the only thing I know is like, what's the first couple songs I want to play? And after that, it's all strictly like, okay, the game feels like this now, so I'm going to do that.
And how does that kind of change depending on what's happening with the game? I mean, I imagine it's difficult, if the team is having a bad night and it's like you're trailing double digits. I mean, how does the strategy kind of change in that situation? Because of course you're trying to keep the energy of the fans going. You're trying to keep hopes up and keep people engaged in the game. How do you kind of do that from a musical perspective?
So you're absolutely right. You have to, I pick and choose my times to play based on what's happening with the game. You can play the greatest song in the world, but it's not effective if you play it at the wrong time. So me and whichever other DJ is working that day, we communicate. Say, okay, you know what? Let me take this possession. All right, you take this one. Sometimes we change that. If I say, hey, you take the next possession and the other team gets a big dunk, I'll be like, you know what? Let me take this one. I need to play something to get the crowd involved or whatever. Now, if we're trailing double digits, it depends on how does it look when we're trailing double digits. Is this still a winnable game? A 20-point lead in the NBA can become a 6-point lead real quick.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So, so is this still a winnable game? If so, then we need to focus on trying to keep the crowd in it, keep the energy up, keep spirits up, keep people in a positive place. Might play some happier songs, might play some Let's Go Hawks type stuff. Just keep people's spirits up. If the game has completely gotten away from us, at that point, I just want people to have fun with their experience. So,
Sure.
Hey, listen, okay, if it's the fourth quarter, 7 minutes left and we're down by 30, yeah, you never want to give up. But at that point, I just got to make sure the fans are having fun. However, past 2 to 3 seasons, we haven't had many of those. There haven't been a lot of games where, I would even say the past 4 seasons, there haven't been a lot of games where the game has been out of reach. It's been more like we lost the lead or we couldn't quite come over the hump. So I haven't had to just keep fans interested. We've been very fortunate enough to have close games where we at least have a shot to win.
So, can you talk about the in-arena experience from what you present for Atlanta Hawks fans? Atlanta has its own swag, I think, compared to other arenas around the NBA. Can you just kind of describe how you separate the fan experience compared to other arenas around the league?
I think we do a very good. We definitely put a premium on music. Like I told you, we have 3 DJs. I don't think most of the arenas have a live organ player. I think that's something that I don't know the exact number of teams, but only a few teams have that. And we really put a premium on everything when it comes to our show. We've got fire coming out of the starting lineups. We've got we do really interactive timeouts in terms of we'll pick, they have a video called This or That where they put 2 choices on the board and let the players choose which one. And the crowd always gets really into that because if it's this or that rappers and you have, future outcasts, you got the crowd choosing which one they want. And sometimes they react to it like, oh, you chose him instead of him, so that's really good. We really put a focus on trying to make sure that the in-game experience is an extension of what life in the city is like. So life in this city, there's a certain energy to it. There's a certain, atmosphere. And we want it to feel like that, except a basketball game. You know what I mean? So that way the fan can connect to the in-arena experience and connect to the team because it feels like what they're used to. So, we play music from everywhere, but we do play a lot of Atlanta artists. You know what I'm saying? Because this is where we're at. And that's what people listen to here. So we put we definitely want it to feel like you're in Atlanta now. I think we've done a very good job of embracing who and what this city really is. It certainly is a sprawling city, you know what I'm saying? But I think we grasp every part of it in our in-game experience. And I think that has helped. That combined with having an exciting team has helped fans to really connect to our team.
Is there anything that changes depending on who the opponent you're playing is? I mean, I know you guys are focused on a lot of the things that we've discussed, like keeping the energy up, and of course focusing on those home fans. But any sort of changes or sort of jabs that you take depending on the opponents that are there?
So they have a video series where like they let the players try to draw the other team's logo. And then
Mhm.
Orlando Magic, they'll have a player come up and doodle it, and it looks how it looks, and then they'll replace the other team's logo on the scoreboard with that doodle for like a quarter. But as that's the only jab that I can tell that we take with other teams. As far as the way I feel like we do it is like you came to see the Hawks, and the other team is there so that the Hawks have somebody to play. We're not really concerned about them. You know what I'm saying? Like they
For
just
sure.
have to be here. So so this is not a scrimmage. So like you came to see Trey Young, you know what I'm saying, and our guys, and it's some other dudes out there too playing against us, and that's it. But as far as me, my preparation for any game is the same. I don't care if it's Tuesday night against the worst team in the league or the All Star game. I prepare for them all exactly the same.
Have you had any players get involved in terms of their ideas and implementing those into what you do at all, or is it kind of like you take it? No, nobody's interaction with you in terms of their suggestions.
I used to get a lot of player suggestions.
Yeah.
I used to have like assistant coaches giving me suggestions. I don't know if players would say give me suggestions. They were more like, "That's what I'm talking about. Good job," that type stuff. You know what I mean? Post pandemic, that has kind of changed. I'm not there as early. I'm not interacting with the players as much. But pre pandemic, I did get a lot of that.
Tell us about the differences in playing the organ during the games, having that like live music instrumentation feel. There are a lot of arenas around the league that don't have something like that going on. How does that kind of change the experience for you and for the fans?
It's like the way I look at myself is like I'm the orchestra for the Broadway play that is the game. So like
Hmm.
when you've seen a play on Broadway, like one of the things that tripped me out about it was that you're looking at the screen and you get looking at the stage and the special effects and it's all this, and you look down in that pit and you realize there's people playing this live, and you're like, for real, like they're scoring the thing live, and that was amazing to me to see it. And I look at it like that because I'm a live musician, I can react to the game in a way that the computers and the click boxes can't react to it. I can speed up and slow down. I can make very sudden changes, and it just adds a lot of layers to the game. I can also do reactions. A lot of times, like I can tell because I know the game of basketball. I can tell that it's a foul before they announce foul on whoever. So like I can play a little something that reacts to that. And I think those small details in the big scheme of things, they add up to a big experience because they let the fans know something happened. You know what I mean? So I would say those are the biggest things, just being live and being able to score the game as if it's a Broadway play. I think that's you can't replicate that with machines.
Absolutely, yeah. It seems like it's a way that at least in games that I've been to, whether that be baseball, basketball, or whatever, when you have the organ, it seems like it connects the fans a little bit more. Like the collective emotion is kind of heard through what you're playing, um, and you know lets everyone kind of react in that together. And I think also can add those elements of like comedy and humor at times that other forms of music can't necessarily do that. Is there, reacting to the foul you mentioned? I mean, is there other stuff that are kind of like your go-to fill-ins to react to stuff like that?
I have a few go-to fill-ins for fouls. The rest
Hmm.
of them, I kind of play them by ear because I want them to sound authentic. You know, I don't want to overdo those. So
Sure.
I kind of let those fill-ins happen game to game, and I make those adjustments from game to game. But one of the things I can say is like on the defensive end, a lot of times they want us to just if the other team has the ball, they want us to just play defense. So I probably have 100 different variations of that, and I make up new ones during the game. Just to keep it like, even though it's saying the same thing, it feels different. It sounds different, so you don't get ear fatigue. I think that's a big detail that, being a live musician, that I can do. Like I said, that you can't really do with machines.
So I want to just pull back a little bit, and I want to ask you just your passion for music. How did that start, and what was kind of the origins for you ultimately landing with the Atlanta Hawks?
So my mother says that when I was 6 months old, I was on a walker. I walked up to my grandfather's piano and I hit one note and tried to sing it to them. And my grandfather was like, "Really? Like, y'all need to give him music lessons. That seems like, what the universe put him here to do." So I started taking music lessons when I was 6 or 7, and I just stuck to it. As far as landing with the Hawks, excuse me, as far as landing with the Hawks, craziest story ever. The Hawks put out a Craigslist ad saying they were looking for an organ player, and I used to be on Craigslist pretty heavy, so I just answered it, and like I got the job. And at the time, I didn't even think
Wow.
it was like I had to go through a couple interviews. I had to go through a preseason game with them. Like, I had never been a stadium organ player before. I didn't even know there was a science to it. I didn't know that was a real thing. I was just like a musician playing in clubs, and I ended up getting a job. And I was kind of like, well, this crowd is bigger than the crowd at the club, so like more people would see me. I didn't even think it was
Totally.
like, wait a minute, it's the NBA. It's like global. I didn't even picture that. It was like, well, hey, it's a big audience. Okay, cool, we do this, and here I am. So that's how that story worked.
What has surprised you on your journey and coming from, gigging at different clubs to getting like a permanent position with just the Hawks, just playing, in front of a lot more people just compared to that club experience? Are there any negatives, positive surprises, just in terms of that experience with just the audience?
No, I would actually say the clubs kind of prepared me for it. So when I first got to the Hawks, like the organ player, they had me like in this way up in the stands skybox thing, way above the stage. Like, I was higher than, like, how they have speakers hanging in the arena. I was higher than those, and like I think that's where all the organ players were. They were just like high up in the stands, hidden somewhere.
Mhm.
But like, I used to play in small clubs that didn't have a stage, so like the fans would be right up on you, and like that's what I was used to. So like, I told my producer mid-season, I was like, "Yo, I want to be in the audience." You know what I mean? And he told me I was the first Hawks organ player, or the first organ player in that stadium that they put in the audience. And then they realized, oh, this is better because then they can shoot me. You know what I'm saying? They have a better angle as opposed to up there in the skybox. So like, all of us in the audience now, like we're all like amongst the fans. So I would say the clubs prepared me for it. When you play in those clubs like that, you got to play so many gigs just to really accomplish anything, that like I didn't have any stage fright by the time I got to the Hawks. Like, I remember, like, I was never nervous. It was like, all right, this is what we do now. You know what I mean? And I guess, like, looking back, you're standing in front of 20,000 people. Looking back, I guess nerves would be expected. But at that time, I didn't even have any nerves because I had been playing so much and I had been gigging so much. It was like, all right, this is another gig, cool. You know what I'm saying? With better sound men. All right, dope, I'll take it. And I just went from there.
What do you see as far as, the NBA compared to other major sports leagues and the connection with music? Do you think there's a different vibe, or what makes the NBA's connection with music unique from what you're seeing?
That's an interesting question. It's like basketball just has a different relationship with music, period.
Hmm.
What is different? I don't know. But it's like hip hop and basketball just go together.
Hmm.
I can't explain. Like, when you walk in the shoe stores, they're playing hip hop music and showing basketball clips. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And one was a mixtape. That's a hip hop term. Like, hip hop and basketball just go together. They just fit. And I don't know who decided that or what, but like the NBA has embraced it. Like, look, we're a basketball league, so they've totally embraced it, and it works. It works. I do think this is hard to explain. I really don't know. I will say the Hawks have done a great job of really like totally embracing it. We have like random pop up concerts with rappers in the middle of games. Like, sometimes I get there and I'm even surprised. Like, oh, who we got today? Like, that happened a couple of games ago. It was like, oh, Gucci Mane's performing today. Great. So like, we have random pop up concerts. One year we went to the playoffs, random concerts in the middle, like the second quarter. Okay, we're going a little scrappy. You know what I mean? Just so we take that even a step further because I feel like we're like the entertainment capital of the world. And at the Hawks, we definitely play up to that. Like, yes, this is a game, but this is an experience. You know what I mean? We embrace the fact that our fans come to the games like dressed to the nines in their best gear. So we're gonna give you the total experience, and it's dope. It's dope.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for the really vague question there, putting you on the spot with that, but it does seem to me like there's just no other like deep connection with music and sports that like quite compares with what the NBA has with hip hop, like you mentioned. Like there's live performers at other concert or at other sporting events, and it's expected in some events, but it just doesn't seem as I guess authentic or maybe personal is the word that I'm looking for as it is with NBA and hip hop, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's just the connection to basketball and hip hop. Period. It's just part of the sports identity. So like the NBA just plays up on what is already part of the sports identity. Whereas like when you think of football, a lot of times you think of like marching bands. So like I don't know if marching band would be considered a genre, and it's kind of harder to do that with a pro
Mm-hmm.
sport. So baseball, I don't know what genre of music you would think of like this sport goes with this. You know what I mean? The connection of hip hop and basketball is just a unique sports to music connection that I don't know if any other sport really has it. You know what I mean? So the NBA does a great job of embracing what basketball means to the streets and what it means to the fans when it's not at the NBA level, when it's at the high school level or the playground level, and just playing that up on a bigger stage.
What do you see in terms of the future of entertainment for the fans? Are you seeing anything like you just mentioned? When you first got to the Hawks, you were way up in the Raptors, and now you're with the fans themselves. Do you see anything evolving off of that in terms of the in arena experience from either a musical perspective or from an entertainment perspective? Are there things that you're talking about with the other DJs or with the Atlanta Hawks about how you want to push it to the next level in the future years?
One thing I can say is that from my time with the Hawks, I feel like we evolved very quickly. That when I was telling you guys I was up in the skybox or whatever, and I asked them to move me to be with the fans, that happened like mid-season of my first year. Like this was not like we didn't have to go to the board and approve it. It was like, you know what, Foster, you're right. We're gonna put you in this section. Okay, you're here now. And so we evolved very quickly all the time. I would think that I can say that the Hawks are always trying new things. They always like one year I came in, they could project 3D stuff on the floor. They're always trying new things. They're always evolving all the time. So my answer to this would be more of the same with newer technology. As the technology changes, we'll be the first people to have it. They're always going to try something new. Even if the thing last year was good, this is a newer thing, so we're going to go to that. One thing I appreciate about them is that they never run in place. I've never seen the Hawks run in place. And as you know, I've worked with the NBA on 6 or 7 All-Star games, and they don't run in place either. They don't run in place either. They always have something new, something more exciting, a different angle. Last year we did these type of timeouts. We're doing this type of timeouts this time. They are very forward thinking in terms of their creativity. So it's gonna evolve. I don't know what it will be, but I guarantee it will evolve, and they'll probably always be slightly ahead of the curve.
I want to ask you, since you brought it up, your experience with the All Star game. What is that like compared to just the Atlanta Hawks games? Is your preparation different when you're put in that environment, when it's just like all the eyes are focused on that event, not only at basketball, but sports in general?
Um, yes and no. So yes, it's different because I have to play more. So I probably add a few more songs to the rotation. Like for normal game, you know, 2 to 5 songs. And there are times when like this month I might add, 20 or 30 songs to my library, and I might not add any more until next month. Maybe nothing else is hot, or maybe nothing else would translate to the organ or whatever. But for the All-Star games, depending on what they're asking me to do, I do have to purposefully like add stuff to my library. Not just stuff that I want to play, but like stuff that's based on the city that we're in. And like they might ask me to do something else, like, hey, Foster, we might need you to handle organ stuff and instrumentals between plays or whatever. So I might have to add those. So as far as preparation, yeah, that's it. Oregon, the All-Star games they have very intense rehearsals. So you do have to go to those. But other than that, once I get out there, it's pretty much the same. It's like, I treat all the games the same. I kind of get up for them the same way. And that level of consistency of treating them all the same, I think has been something that helped me.
This has been a fantastic chat. Thank you for joining us. Please let our audience know where you can find you on social media, the projects you're working on. I understand that you put out new music as well. Anything else you wanted to just let our audience know?
Yes, so you can find me on every platform at Sir Foster World. So that is fan base, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. I'm running out of them, but Sir Foster World. Also, my album is called Stadium Music, and it's on every platform: Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, etc. It's on every one of those. Let me know how you feel about that. Check out Stadium Music. As far as new things that I'm working on, I'm really just trying to expand and DJ in different places this summer. So, you want me to come to your state, your city, you want me to DJ your party, hit me at Sir Foster World. Go to my website, sirfoster.net, which is linked to all my socials, by the way. So you can find it there. And, hit me up. We'll see what happens.
Awesome. This has been a great chat. Thanks for taking the time, and good luck to the Hawks for the rest of the playoffs.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I've enjoyed it. Y'all take care.
You too.